Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Roundtable News. I'm your host, Jeff Glover. Let's get started. So the other day, I got a question on our first episode, and the question was abuse of steroids in jiu-jitsu, more specifically in no-gi, and why physical attributes are becoming more important than technique. That's a great question. I don't know that I agree with that. I don't know that I think physical attributes are more important than technique. I think dudes just have their shirts off and they look jacked. And usually when they have their gi on, you can't see how jacked they are. You know what I'm saying? So you think dudes are more physically gifted than they used to be. I have no problem with dudes doing steroids. For whatever, trying to win matches, trying to win fights. I always saw it as like the icing on the cake. If I had a match with a dude who was clearly on steroids and I beat him, it just was like, yeah, I could tell people, you could brag about that later and be like, oh, I tapped out that dude who's on steroids. So I don't know. I feel like it's a lose-lose thing if you're doing the steroids, I think the question he said was abusing the steroids, though. So, I mean, you've seen it with all the pro wrestlers. You see all these pro wrestlers that have died in their 40s and their early 50s, all from heart attacks, and it's like, what's the factor here? What's the common factor here that's causing this? What's crazy is Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair are still alive. I find that crazy. But I don't know. Maybe they were on the right program. Maybe they had the right doctor giving them the right type of steroids that would help them, live into their 70s and 80s now. But yeah, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure all the guys now are just being honest about it. I'm pretty sure like Craig Jones and Gordon Ryan have like been open about like, of course I take steroids type attitude about it. So if they're going to be like that, like who cares, right? Like, if they're not ashamed of it, I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? Hoist Gracie was on the Joe Rogan Experience either yesterday or today. And, man, that's pretty crazy. Was that the first time Hoist? He was acting like, I only watched it briefly. He was acting as if it was his first time having Hoist on the show, which is pretty crazy considering how much of the Joe Rogan Experience is about, MMA guys. If that was his first time having Hoist Gracie on the show, that's pretty remarkable. But yeah, I mean, maybe there's some youngsters right now who don't really know, and they're just so overwhelmed with, and I'm thinking about my nephew here. I often will tell him, he's like 15. I'll tell him like, oh, do you know about this old school guy? And he'll be like, what? Like, what is that? Like, you got to remember that the young cats nowadays, they don't know all the history that we know. They don't know the 30 years of MMA history that we've gone through. They don't understand the significance about pride. They don't know the significance of the early first UFCs and how jiu-jitsu proved to be the most important of the martial arts. It proved to be the pinnacle, the most valuable martial art. Hoist Gracie won, the first 3 or 4 events until dudes started figuring out Gracie's Brazilian style jiu-jitsu and how to deal with it. But until you learned how to deal with it, if you didn't learn how to deal with it, it was going to beat you. And Hoist Gracie was winning. And he's just a hero, for all of you guys who are young and don't really understand the significance of Hoist Gracie, or you hear people my age talking about Hoist Gracie and you're like, what, who cares? I mean, yeah, it was a long time ago. It was like 92 or something like that, 93, 94. And, set the tone for the rest of us. We're all standing on his shoulders, and it was MMA that made Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu so popular. You know what I'm saying? And I'm personally thankful. I live my life off of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and if it wasn't for Hoist Gracie spreading Jiu-Jitsu the way he did with the UFC, I probably wouldn't be talking to you guys right now. Frangia wouldn't have made his voyage to America and started teaching jiu-jitsu in Santa Barbara. So, yeah, much respect to Hoist Gracie. I'm gonna go back later and listen to the whole podcast. I like I said, I only saw it briefly. I saw like a Joe Rogan clip where Hoist was talking about how his brother Horion had the vision, and they were like, how do we get exposure? How do we expose our jujitsu to people? We're just teaching dudes in garages. So they came up with the UFC, and the rest is history. I saw a picture of Cade and Ty Rotolo. Well, first I saw a picture of Cade working with Mighty Mouse. Then I saw a picture of them both training with him. But Cade in particular, I know, has taken some interest in MMA. And there was 2 pictures I saw. I saw a picture of them with gloves on, standing up against a cage, as if they were like listening to some wrestling coach, like watching something. And then I saw another picture where Mighty Mouse was rocking his black belt. By the way, congratulations, Mighty Mouse, on getting your black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It was really cool. I don't know if you guys saw the run he did at Masters Worlds. I was there for that. That was amazing. I mean, he made it look easy, He looked like, it was like, wow, why isn't that dude a black belt? So congratulations, Mighty Matt, on Mighty Mouse. I have a friend named Mighty Matt. Congratulations, Mighty Mouse, on getting your black belt. And yeah, like I said, it's really cool to see the Rotolo brothers potentially getting into MMA. They do have their connections with ONE FC, and they're doing jiu-jitsu super fights right now. And maybe the future is going to have the Rotolo brothers doing MMA. That would be pretty exciting for me and a lot of the people that I'm friends with. We all watched the Rotolo brothers grow up in jiu-jitsu. You know what I'm saying? We all watched them, from 5-year-olds, literally 5, 6 years old, doing jiu-jitsu tournaments. And, now they're like 21 or they're 20. I forget how old they are. They're super young. And they're just doing the most. They opened a place in Costa Rica, from what I've heard. I've seen pictures, and they opened up a training situation there. You can go there and train with them and surf, and it looks beautiful. And I'm really happy for you guys. Congratulations on all your success. To see Cade Rotolo in MMA would be a beautiful thing. Let's move on. Chest-to-chest guard passing. I wrote down chest-to-chest guard passing because I've been watching Roger Gracie a lot. And his style of beating dudes was basically getting on top of you, getting into half guard, chest-to-chest, and forcing his way into the mount. And it's just such a dominant way. It's so embarrassing. It's like, if that happens to you, that's like playing chess with somebody and they checkmate you in like 3 moves. You feel pretty weak. You feel helpless when somebody passes directly into the mount from half guard like that, and they don't first try to go into side mount. So yeah, that's one of the things I've been doing lately in my jiu-jitsu. When I get on top of dudes, I try to get that chest to chest. I'm always looking to chest to chest bow, whether I have the underhook or they have the underhook. Yeah, in the news, Tyson Fury's father headbutted a dude at a boxing event. I'm not sure what it was. I just saw it briefly on my phone, but I thought it was pretty funny because he headbutts this dude. And we're talking about an older guy. He's probably in his 60s. I don't know. He looked like he could be like 65, maybe 70. But he headbutted like a shorter, younger dude. And he headbutts the guy and he turns around and he's busted up and bleeding. You know what I'm saying? And it looks like somebody socked him. But it's like he did that himself. Like if you're going to headbutt somebody, they should be the one bleeding. I don't know. Vince McMahon in the news. Vince McMahon. Well, I grew up watching pro wrestling. And I was one of the kids that was butthurt when my older brother told me pro wrestling was fake. I was like, no, it's real. It's real to me. And he was like, they're all friends. And I was like, no, they hate each other. And he's like, they all go hang out. And I was just so butthurt by it. And it took me about 2 years till it sunk in. And I was like, man, wrestling is fake. Holy crap, I can't believe I ever liked it. And then you have to get into this like, oh, now you got to enjoy it for what it is, which I obviously still do. But yeah, as a kid, I grew up loving pro wrestling. When I got into jiu-jitsu, it was like finding pro wrestling again. I found, except it was real. Where pro wrestling had broke my heart, jiu-jitsu was there to catch me. And the jiu-jitsu community is great. And you realize this is all based off like actual fighting. unlike the pro wrestling, which is fake. Somebody's like, no, it's real. And yeah, so I've like known Vince McMahon since I was a kid. I've known his voice as a commentator and obviously as the character he played. And man, there's just some funny news going on. The whole Vince McMahon like taking a dump on that person, the allegations, allegedly, the whole allegations. I don't know. I think it's hilarious. We're talking about like a 75-year-old dude right now. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's all going to court and allegations and blah, blah, blah. Brock Lesnar's got involved in it somehow. Man, people are crazy. People are crazy. DeAndre Corby. Now, this kid won the ADCC trials at the last event, and I haven't mentioned him in anything yet. I was just so impressed with him and his brother. I'm pretty sure they took first and third place, and they had a match with each other, which is kind of sus, to be honest with you. I remember something about ADCC, like, had a rule where if two guys from the same team entered a division together, that they had to fight in the first round. And I remember this happening with Hoffa Mendes and Bruno, was it Bruno Maffasini? No, it was Hoffa Mendes and, gosh, what's his name? Well, anyway, it was Hoffa Mendes and one of his training partners. And Bruno Forzato. It was Bruno Forzato, that's who it was. And they had to fight each other in the first round. But with DeAndre Corby and his brother, they fought in the like semifinals. And if I'm being honest, the match looked a little sus. I don't know that they were like trying really hard. I don't know that they didn't have a predicted. They were like, oh, let's let DeAndre win. And Bada Bob planned a fake fight. It didn't look super competitive. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, regardless of that, he did make it to the finals and won and just was very impressive. You know, his discipline. I went onto his page and checked him out. He's a very disciplined dude. His whole team. Forgive me, I don't remember the name of the team. But I had never heard of them before, you know. And there's so much going on in jiu-jitsu and so many dudes coming up in the game now. It's kind of hard to stay on track with everybody that's winning and doing well now. But yeah, I just wanted to mention him. I think he did really great. If you haven't heard of him, check him out. DeAndre Corby. He just won the ADCC trials, the last one here in Vegas. And just amazing wrestling, you know. If you go back, I checked him out. He wrestled all through high school and college. And I think that's really important nowadays. If you want to be an ADCC champion, the wrestling has to be good. At least the defensive wrestling has to be good. The counter wrestling has to be good. At least. But it's also really fun to just learn the attack wrestling too. But yeah, you could see his wrestling experience really helped him out. Really helped him out to win a tournament like that. And I would say that, like, man, if you're in high school right now and your high school has a wrestling team and you're not joining that wrestling team, you are making a mistake. Okay? When I was like a purple belt in Santa Barbara, the Dos Pueblos High School wrestling coach was one of our students. His name is Anthony Califano. He ended up getting his black belt. But he encouraged me to go and wrestle with the high school kids. And, man, it was such a amazing learning and growing experience for me going in there and wrestling with these kids. And he was like, now listen, Jeff, you're not allowed to guillotine. You know what I'm saying? You're not allowed to do any submissions. It's just go for takedowns and try not to get taken down. And I had never really done that before. And I'm telling you, I probably did it like 3 or 4 times. And even those 3 or 4 times really helped me grow. Okay, imagine if you did a whole season, a whole wrestling season. Okay, you're going to be stronger, faster, athletic, confident, and well-trained. I don't know what else to tell you. If you're doing submission wrestling right now and you have access to a wrestling team and you're not doing anything about that, I would say that's a mistake. Ryan Garcia was fined $1.5 million for missing weight. I saw this and had to write that down because, wow, that's a lot of money. For missing weight. The boxing world is crazy. The boxing world is crazy. He was all over social media. I don't know if you guys saw this, but he was doing some crazy shit on social media and saying some crazy stuff and getting into some crazy battles with people. One thing I did like that he said, he was like, "Yo, I'm not cutting weight. I don't want to take fights where I cut all this weight and I'm uncomfortable at my weight." He was like, "I'd rather pay this $1.5 million fine to miss weight so that I can go in there confident and feel heavy or whatever, strong and feel normal, feel natural." Um, can you imagine having a situation where you're like, yeah, 1.5, whatever, no big deal. What about Ronda Rousey? Ronda Rousey's been in the news. Basically, everyone's calling her a complainer, and she's making excuses for her losses. And she's doing a media tour, I suppose, going around doing interviews, and maybe she's doing Instagram Live and her own social media. But a lot of what she's saying is that she was unconscious. She got hit, and she was like unconscious, and she was out on her feet. And also mentioning, excuses about falling downstairs and mouth guards not fitting right. And it's just pretty sad to hear that, because she is a great champion. And losing matches and losing fights for somebody who's never done professional fights, like, it's pretty traumatizing. It stays with you. It sticks in your head a lot more than the wins do. And you can see that those losses really affect her. And she thinks about them a lot and can't really, like, move past them and deal with the trauma and accept them and accept her own shortcomings for why she lost and how it could possibly be her fault. And it's pretty sad to see that. I would say for myself, have I ever complained about a loss like that? I don't know that if I did have an excuse about losing a match, I would try not to say it out loud. I would try to keep it to myself, even if it was true. Because sounding like a complainer is never a good look, and I'm guilty of doing it, I'm sure, in the past. And, seeing Ronda Rousey go through all this has reminded me, like, dude, don't ever complain about a loss. Don't ever make excuses about losses, dude, especially on camera. Keep that shit to yourself, Glover. Mother's Day just happened. Mother's Day. I saw a funny video about it. They were talking about how all these other people are trying to get in on Mother's Day, and grandmas are trying to get in on Mother's Day. And they're like, hey, listen here, Granny. Mother's Day is for moms, not grandmas. I thought that was pretty funny. Should we have a Grandma's Day? Is there a Grandma's Day? I don't know. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there doing jiu-jitsu. Big respects. Ooh, here's a fun one. Drake versus Kendrick. Now, my hip hop understanding is that Wu-Tang is for the children. You know what I'm saying? And Wu-Tang is the best. And ever since I started listening to Wu-Tang, it's been hard to listen to other rap. So I never really got into either Drake or Kendrick, but I did listen to that one song that Kendrick released. And I don't know, I think his voice is cooler. I really didn't listen to any of the content. They're like kind of speaking a lot of slang and a lot of like personal stuff that you would have to like research to find out what he's saying. But from what I heard, I thought Kendrick just sounds cooler. I honestly don't really listen to either one of their music, but gosh, it's so much in the news. They want me to think they're like, oh, Kendrick versus Drake. I'm like, I don't care. Are they going to fight? Could we get them to do a jiu-jitsu match? Could we get them to box? That would be cool, right? What if like rappers have settling their rap beefs with jiu-jitsu matches? That would be cool. We could host that here in Las Vegas at the Apex. We were talking about this. What if we have celebrity jiu-jitsu matches? You know what I'm saying? I would referee them. What would be a cool celebrity match? Drake versus Kendrick. That would be cool. Biden versus Trump. That would be great. You know what I'm saying? Who do you want to win? Write down in the comments who you want to win between Biden and Trump. That's not going to cause any controversy, is it? I was reading about what's going on in Brazil right now with the flooding. I saw a report that said 83 lives were lost in Brazil and 121,000 people are displaced from their homes. That's pretty sad. I want to offer love and respect to all my Brazilian friends out there. I have quite a few. My jiu-jitsu coach, Frangia, and his wife and his family are all really important to me. And I have so many Brazilian friends. And yeah, I just want to offer love and respect and tell you guys you're in my heart, and I'm thinking about that. What about Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson coming up? I'm pretty excited about this. I like the idea of an old guy versus a young guy, because pretty much everybody's in agreement that young dudes are going to beat the old guys. But Mike Tyson's such a special example. He's not just any old guy. He's Mike freaking Tyson. And I think they're doing like 8 2-minute rounds, which is a lot. That's a long fight, okay? Especially for somebody at Mike's age. Jake Paul said something about, if you're not ready to see Mike Tyson lose to a young, fit dude, go watch soccer. And I thought that was pretty funny. I mean, dude, Jake's so good at promoting and getting eyes on him and setting things up and organizing events and, you know, getting his foot indoors, and he's just so entertaining. You know what I'm saying? I've become a fan. I started out like everyone else. I was a hater. I was like, dude, this guy's whack. I was mostly jealous. I was like, this dude's just filming videos in his mansion, and I want a mansion. Screw that guy. But he's grown on me, and I've come to enjoy his entertainment. And I think one thing I'll say about him is he steps up. He takes fights. You know, whatever. He's fighting older dudes, but I mean, he's doing fights. He did fight Fury's. What was the guy? One of the Fury brothers, I believe, and lost that fight. So you can't say he's only taking fights that are easy that he can win. And even if you are saying that, cool. That's awesome. He's a cool guy to talk about. So I'm really looking forward to the fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. My prediction would be, how about instead of my prediction, I tell you what I would like. I would like to see Mike Tyson win. I would like to see the old guy beat the young guy and Mike Tyson have another day of glory. You know what I'm saying? Because just like the rest of you, I grew up watching Mike Tyson, being excited about his fights. You know, he made boxing exciting for people that weren't boxing fans. I wasn't a boxing fan, you know, but I watched every Mike Tyson fight throughout the 90s and the early 2000s. Grappling for street fights. We get a lot of comments about grappling for street fights. You get a lot of YouTube comments from random people saying this and that, this and that. Listen, they'll mention World Star. They'll be like, oh, World Star, I saw some dude get slammed. It's like, yeah, but that wasn't a dude who knew jiu-jitsu, right? Just because somebody's on the floor and grappling doesn't mean they like know jiu-jitsu. I can tell you from personal experience, all the really good fighters, jiu-jitsu guys that I know have never really lost street fights. And in fact, the situations where they were in street fights, they were able to neutralize the person without hurting them. They weren't bashing them in the face with boxing techniques. They were holding them down on the ground, neutralizing them, and, you know, made it a lot safer than it could have been. I think it's been pretty soundly proven that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the most important and most effective style of martial arts for self-defense in street fights. I mean, you can talk about a lot of other factors, about multiple attackers. You don't want to get stomped on the ground by his homie. All true. Of course, that's true. The idea of the guard is to prevent people from punching you in the face. So getting somebody on the ground in a street fight is a way to stop people from punching you in the face. And like I said, I don't think there's any question, at least from me, about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu being the best martial arts for street fights, you know, at least from personal experience. Do I know any guys that have lost street fights? Yes. I've been involved in like brawls where like fists were just coming from everywhere, right? But in that situation, like, not Taekwondo isn't going to help you, not Wing Chun is going to help you, not Krav Maga is going to help you, not Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is going to help you, not boxing is going to help you. None of that shit's going to help you. None of that shit's going to help you. That's where you need a gun, fool. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. Multiple attackers, no martial art's going to help you, big dog. You know what I'm saying? You get dragged to the ground by like 10 dudes. Jiu-jitsu is absolutely not going to help you. But neither is boxing. Neither is taekwondo. Oh, you know what we can talk about? One of my friends sent me a picture that, to me, is one of the most conspiracy theory, Illuminati. Is it the devil? It's this photo of Charles. What's his name? King Charles or Prince Charles or whatever. Is this dude dead? I don't even know. I don't really know or care, but this photo's crazy. Like, there's a devil horn. Do you see the devil tail? Oh, is he Satan? Is he a human? Is he Illuminati? Is he a reptile? I don't know. He looks kind of crazy to me. Look at that dude. He looks like the bad guy in a Ghostbusters movie, doesn't he? Right? It's pretty fitting. I don't know. I'm into conspiracy theories and stuff like this, crazy stuff like this, accusing random celebrities of being the devil. I thought that was pretty interesting. The ADCC Youth Championships. I wrote this down. I thought this was pretty cool. They're giving, I'm pretty sure it's going down the weekend of the ADCC, which will be here in Vegas at the T-Mobile Center, I believe it's called. And yeah, they're having a youth championships. I saw a few of these kids giving interviews and talking about the upcoming event and how much they're looking forward to it. And some of these kids were so articulate and well-spoken and looked so confident with themselves. It was a beautiful thing to see. These kids were talking, were on the mic, cutting promos better than a lot of the adults that I know. A lot of the adult grapplers I know get on the mic and they're like, I'm trained with my coach really hard. Like they just are very unconfident on the mic. And all these kids that I saw that were invited to this ADCC Youth Championship were very confident and vibrant and had so much energy and were so excited and showed zero fear. And I thought it was a beautiful thing. I'm really looking forward to that. I want to go see that ADCC Youth Championships and see if those matches are cooler than the pro matches. You never know. Shout out to all the kids out there, all you teenagers out there looking forward to growing up and becoming professional grapplers. I'm really happy for all you guys. Shout out to my nephew who's doing that as well, Dorian. He's all about it. He's 15 years old. I think it's a beautiful thing when, when a kid a teenager kind of gives their life to jiu-jitsu and then, you see them make that change where like every weekend now they're looking forward to a tournament. Their lives go from whatever to like every weekend. Like, yeah, I can't wait to compete. That's one of my favorite things about jiu-jitsu is seeing that happen. Well, with that said, thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed today's show, Roundtable News with me, Jeff Glover. Tune back in for more. Thanks to Goldtown MMA for making this happen, and cheers.